evening, keepers of the cash. Gary B, the casual comic guy here, and joined as always on Tuesdays on the 1011. My co-host with the most, my all-time wingman. We have Rob, Fat Stax of Comics. How you doing tonight, sir?
Henshin, baby. Henshin. I'm your henchman.
You are, because you have the keys to the kingdom.
Well, sure. Let's do that then.
And we have another guest host this evening. We have welcoming back to the channel, Mr. Chuck Hensey. How you doing tonight, Chuck?
I'm doing great. How's everyone doing? Are you good?
We are well. And as a bonus, we have, and you'll see him this Thursday as well, Mark Andrews is on tonight as a co-host.
Evening all.
And then it just leaves us our illustrious guest, the main reason that you guys are here tonight, to see what books are important and loved by Steve the Voice White. How you doing tonight, Steve?
Good evening, everybody. We're doing good here.
So, Steve, before we get going here, what I like to do on this show is tell the folks about the 1 to 2 minute story of yourself and what you do on Instagram, what other YouTube shows you may pop up on. We're going to go say hi to the audience after that, and then we'll come back and get going on your first book.
Excellent. Well, good evening, everybody. I just want to start off by saying, I love this comic book community. It's one of the best communities that I've ever hung out in, outside some of my car shows. First little shout out I got to give is to our Mr. Mark Andrews there. When he was up there in Northern Ontario there, in one of those comic book stores that he hangs out at, this guy, Jeff Lemire, was signing some books there. So he was nice enough to grab one and have it personalized to me. And he even wrote a little thing on the back there. So I just want to give a little shout out there to Mr. Andrews. Thank you very much.
Nice.
It's appreciated. Gotta love this community. I've been collecting books for about 40 years. And just like, most of everybody that I've talked to, on and off, life intervenes on occasion. I started somewhere in the 70s. My parents bought me the first books. And then really, I guess the true beginning would be around 82. That's when I had my own money and I bought my first book, which I will show tonight because I got that one here. Not a whole lot going on as far as YouTube. And my first time ever being on was Reggie Collects. And then I was on this other cool guy. Maybe you've heard of him, Matt Woods. I hung out with him a couple of times. And now I'm in the big leagues. I'm on the Gary B show. Holy cow, man.
This isn't the big leagues, but thank you for the compliment.
It's all the tens of people that are watching this right now. It's just exciting. It's great.
At least double A. Come on.
All right, so let's go say hi to the chat, and then because I'm curious what you're going to bring tonight. I've heard some things from everybody, so I want to see how much of it's true. But first in, as always, we have Las Cruces. Good evening, James. Nice to see you, sir. Then we have one of my all-time favorite people, Jerry the Jitterbug. How you doing tonight, Jerry?
Jerry.
We have Paul from Psychedelic Comics, another great supporter of the show. Thank you, Paul. We always appreciate seeing you. We have Steve saying hi to everybody. And we have another one of our favorite people, Anachronic Comics. How you doing, Joe?
Joe.
And we have DVH, another great member of our community. And if you guys haven't been going to his channel, he's been getting some nice slabs lately. I can't speak about the last one he got because, you'll know if you watched it. All right.
It's the best comic ever, though.
Right?
He said
Ryan,
so.
How you doing, sir? Tony, good evening. Tony's coming back up for a second appearance on the show soon. And we have Kevin in, Hulk Collector Kevin. Nice to see you, Kevin. Thank you for the continued support. And people will just keep rolling in as they're getting the notifications. We got Phil Ailing here. Nice to see you, Phil, as always. And people saying hi to each other. Oh, we got my favorite blue wrench of them all, Tina Carenson. How you doing, Tina? Nice to see you.
Hey, Tina.
You know you're going to have a good show when Tina's in your crowd.
Yes.
Another one of my favorite people on the YouTube. Tina's so nice. Stephanie, how you doing? Nice to see you.
Madam.
And who else do we got here? And Rob saying good evening to everybody. All right, so we'll keep waving hello to people as they pop in. But for now, we're gonna put the spotlight on you and make you sweat it out, and you can show us your first book.
Excellent. Sweat it out. Well,
First, Steve, let's start off by saying what a
Okay.
great haircut you have.
Isn't that beautiful?
Really nice not to see a hippie on this show like Gary.
Right? I gotta cut it all again.
Freaking long hair. I tell
I
you.
tell you. Well, Rob, you and I, we never have a bad hair day. I'll tell you that
That's
right.
right. Well,
And-
I sometimes
and-
do, but
Rob, he's really easy to spot in a crowd when you're looking for him because there's a glow and you go, oh, there's Steve.
Yeah. Yeah, that was easy to find me at Fan Expo.
it's our
last year.
natural radiance.
Yeah.
Are you tall too, Steve? So you stand above everyone?
No, I'm not. But Mark Andrews, man, I was surprised how tall this guy was when I first saw him. That was impressive. I thought, 6 foot, I was a tall guy, but nope.
They stack it. They stack it deep in Canada. You know that, Steve.
Just more as the further north you get.
Yeah, you gotta get above the snow.
Yep. Anything north of 7, that's it. You're into it. All right, we're going to talk EC tonight for a
All right,
chunk of
let's
it.
do it.
EC is a wonderful thing. It's one of my favorite books of all times. As a kid, I would collect the Mad magazines, and in my whole life, I never thought I would ever own any of the 23 comic books that the whole thing started with. But you never know what's going to happen in life, right?
Right.
First one, this is just the reprint, because all of my slabs I keep a floppy with because I like to read my books, right? But this is probably the gem of my entire collection.
Ooh.
Oh, there we go. So this is Mad #1. Good old
I've never
EC.
seen the first issue of Mad. This is cool.
And this particular one is signed by Harvey Kurtzman, who was the editor of Mad and the creator of Mad. Well, he states he's the creator of Mad and came up with the idea. Bill Gaines also says that he came up with the idea, but who do you believe? It's the two of them had many, many arguments over this book over the years. When EC first started out, it was actually in deep trouble when Bill took it over, and the war books and the horror books were kind of on the decline. So he talked to Harvey, and Harvey wasn't producing as much as Al Feldstein was at the time. So he asked him, he says, if you want to head up another type of book. So I guess he had what Harvey says in his interviews, that he had Bill and Al over to his house and he pitched the idea of Mad. And then Bill said, yeah, go for it. And it was a horrible failure for the first 3 issues. So I was very happy to get my hands on this one in an auction, signed by Harvey Kurtzman. And then I sent it into CBCS after I cleaned and pressed it, because it came as a 1.8 and got this lovely 2.5.
Oh, nice.
And you don't miss your kidney at all for getting it, right?
No, not at all. Either one of them. So before I sent it in, I had to take pictures of a close-up of the autograph and also the centerfold, because there was an ad for Weird Fantasy number 13 in there, and that's noted on the label.
Now, I do have a question for you about Mad Mag. What issue did they start with the folding back cover thing?
Oh, the fold-in on the back. Oh, geez. That's a good one. Actually, I don't know which issue that was that started. I'd have to go through
I
and look.
put them on the spot,
You
guys.
you got me on a good trivia one.
Gary, if you ask a question, you're supposed to know the answer. Now you don't know?
I don't. That's why I asked.
Quick, somebody Google it.
Right?
Well, Madam was saying something in the chat about how do you fold the back page when it's slabbed. So maybe she knows. So she
Yeah,
can
the comic books don't have it. The first 30 issues, I know, actually pretty much up to the first 50 issues.
Yeah.
I don't remember there being a fold in. It might have happened later on, up in the 100 somewhere.
I'd have to see.
Yeah,
Number
I can't
86.
even remember. What's that?
Number 86. The first fold-in first appeared in Mad Magazine, issue 86 in 1964.
All right,
Wow.
I have that one somewhere.
Right?
That sounds like something you're going to have to update in your inventory, Steve.
Absolutely, I'm going to have to do that. I'll have to put that on there. Yeah, first of the fold-in.
Cool.
And most people are more interested in the first appearance of Alfred E. Newman, but that's going to be like a Hulk 181 question.
Right.
You can start a war about that one.
Well, it's funny, too, because Mad's got such a history with anyone that's read comic books, because there's none of us that didn't have Mad magazines at home as kids. And just pouring through them, looking at Spy versus Spy and folding the covers and just laughing at all their parodies.
Yeah, I'll just keep holding it up there while we talk.
Right?
Because it's just such a cool book. And then, having it slab. I wanted to slab it because, I didn't want it ruined. She's
Now,
getting
who did the
old.
cover on that? Does it say on there?
Oh, it's Harvey Kurtzman did the cover.
Okay.
He was a big time in control. Like he was like Bill Games. The two of them butted heads, but they also got along because they were both very detail oriented.
Right.
Harvey was like the Nazi leader. He had absolute control over this book. Everything that was the layouts. Some of the artists in that, Wally Wood, John Severin actually left because he just couldn't handle not having the freedom to do what an artist does. Because Harvey was so hell bent on having it his way. And he spent a ton of time doing each one of these books too. It took a while for him. That's just the way his process was. He was very meticulous. When he did his war books, he did tons of research to make sure that they were absolutely accurate. So just a stickler.
How you doing tonight, sir? Callie, nice to see you popping in. All right, nice, great lead off. Mad number 1. Now,
Yeah.
we've certainly never had that book on, so that was awesome to see.
Yeah. And now we're getting into book number 2. That's my floppy of it. This is Mad number 4. This is the one that saved Mad. Because 1, 2, and 3 flopped horribly. But this one didn't. This one, it caught the attention of kids because of the very first story parodied DC character everybody knows and loves. Actually, 2 DC characters, Superman and Shazam. So they had Super Duper Man in this one. And that one caught the kids' imagination. And then this book just took off, and the rest is history because it's still going today. Now, this one is also signed by Harvey Kurtzman. It's signed on the inside, so we can't see it. So again, I took a photograph of the first splash page with his signature at the bottom there. And
That's
this
such
is
a
the
great
only,
idea to do with the sign on the inside.
yeah, like a lot of times back in the day when you went to cons and stuff, that's where they were signed. They were signed on the splash page, not on the cover. So it's weird seeing Mad number 1 with the signature on the cover, but that's cool. I'm okay with that. And this is the only one on the census, either the CBCS or CGC. There are no other copies signed on the census as of yet. So I've got the only one. So it's a
One of
3-5. Yeah, the only one.
Matt Woods has joined us.
I'm very happy to have this one. I'll tell you, anything signed by Harvey Kurtzman, it's amazing because the man died in '93, so you were never going to get a CGC verified signature for this ever.
Right.
Right. You have to go through CBCS and get it verified to, have the yellow label.
Yeah, and not only that, I like CBCS. I think their slabs feel great.
Oh yeah, these new slabs are fantastic.
The new magazine slabs are like bricks.
Yes, that's what I heard. I'd like to get my Mad 30 redone in one of those.
Oh, they're incredible.
Pop that around again so we can kind of see the signature there. And he did a funny signature too. Harvey Kurtzman always wrote Kurtz, and then he drew a little stick figure as a man at the end. Al Feldstein did the same thing. He put Feld, and then he would put a beer stein at the end of his name just so he could copy Harvey.
Nice.
The great thing about that parody story there with Super Duper Man is it still holds up even today. Mm-hmm. And, the amazing thing is when it was done, it was just right after the whole kerfuffle between, DC and Fawcett and everything. But it still is really pertinent, even, 50 some years, 60 some years later. So,
oh yeah. And DC had a lawsuit against DC for the longest time until the superhero phase started to peter out. And it got to the point where it wasn't economically feasible for them. So they dropped the lawsuit. So DC just had to wait them out.
Nice. Now, before we get to your next book, I just got a question. How many slabs do you have? And I'm asking for a friend.
How many slabs in total? Somewhere around 40 or so. I think that's about all. The rest of my
that's all right. It's enough for my buddy's show.
Okay, yeah, and the rest of them are the other 6,300 are in floppies.
And I'm referring to Rob on his Saturday show. I just couldn't resist using the asking for a friend line for him.
That's right.
All right, number 3, sir.
All right, here we go. You see, it's a bit of a theme here tonight, eh? This is the one that caused a lot of trouble. This book was the banned one. Parents saw the horrific scenes on this book and started flipping out, sending letters into Mad to the point where Mad had to pull these books from the shelf.
Really?
Where the
Wow.
Comic Code Authority, this was kind of like one of the last nails in the coffin for the beginning of the Comic Book Authority coming into. So, yeah, it's
But it
hard to
still
get your
didn't
hands.
affect the magazines, though, right? Because they're magazines; they weren't considered comic.
See, and this is the funny thing too. Harvey Kurtzman he always wanted to do a magazine so very badly, and it just worked out perfectly when issue 24 was coming out, and they switched to a magazine format. Was right when the Comic Book Code Authority came out, so now they were exempt from it because the magazine, it didn't count. You could carry on doing exactly the formula that they were doing, and they had that. You know, it didn't matter.
Nice.
So it was brilliant. So
Right.
this one's a tough one to get. Very tough.
Now, did you buy that online, Steve, or did you find that in the wild?
No, I all these comic books I found through the magic of eBay.
Yeah.
Actually, except for number 1 and 4, I got those at auctions at my comic shop probably about 15 years ago.
Cool.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I've never. The covers you've shown so far. I haven't seen any of them, so this is a real treat.
Oh, good. I'm glad to bring something.
And
weird.
I never knew they had a horror cover like that got banned.
Yeah. So it was pulled off the shelves. So nobody really knows how many were destroyed and how many eked out there into the universe. But again, like I said, number 4 was the one that made the book took off because they started doing parodies of popular cartoons and comic books and superhero characters that all the kids were loving. And then they just kept doing it. You know, with Archie, they put Starchy, and Popeye, they had Poop Eye. King Kong, they did Ping Pong, and the list goes on and on.
Well,
They just nothing was off limits to these guys.
And that's what I personally loved about it, because I was always looking to see. The first thing I was looking to see is who they were parodying.
Yeah.
You know, and I had to read it. You know, and then after I read the parody, I was looking for Spy versus Spy.
Yeah.
That was a great one.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the Spy versus Spy and the Mad Marginals. I mean, all the writers, they call themselves the usual gang of idiots. And there were some greats in there.
Rivaling the Marvel bullpen, huh?
Absolutely.
All right, number 4, sir.
To the Hulk 181 of the Mad World. So this one here can start all kinds of fights.
Really?
Harvey Kurtzman, he was
All
so
that
proud of this
artillery.
cover. I know, it's so busy. He took almost a year to make this cover. It's like he's so proud of it. Every line on here is comedy on this cover.
Wow.
And it's also the first appearance of Alfred E. Newman. He's somewhere in here.
Right there.
Right
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah! Wow.
Yep. So that's his first appearance in comic books. But then the argument will begin. Okay, where was the very first appearance of Alfred E. Newman? It was actually in the Mad Reader #1, the first paperback book that they ever did. This one here predates the comic
I didn't
book.
know they did a paperback book.
Yeah, the paperback. This is the very first paperback of a comic book in history. Nobody had ever done it before. And it took
Wow.
off too. There's so many printings of this book. It's absolutely ridiculous. And to this day, I do not have a first print of the Mad Reader.
What year was that, Steve?
54, I think it was.
54?
54, yeah, 54. This one, the Mad Reader, I think came out just before. It might have been 53 or just on the verge.
Yeah.
This came out in 54. So the Mad Reader got the Alfred E. Newman on the cover first on the bottom there. And then this was the first comic book. And then if you go to the magazine in 24, he's right at the top on the magazine. So, I mean, there's the argument. So this is the first comic book. This is the first magazine. And this is the first paperback. So, and this is the first ever. So,
Well, I was gonna say there is no shortage of those to buy. I just put it in Google and it goes on for days.
You have
Oh,
to get
yeah.
first printing, Gary.
yeah, first
It's-
printing.
yeah, but
You'll
it's the
find
first printing.
3,000 printing, but the first printing, good luck, because it's an old book.
So it's another search. Hey.
Yeah, exactly. Like I found this one here. This is a 50th anniversary. It's still the
Yeah.
exact same book, but it's just got some bonus material and it's a little wider than the Mad Reader. So I was okay to have the reprint for now until eventually I get my hands on a first printing.
It's gonna show up. It was gonna show up
Somewhere, some way, somehow.
Joe, Joe's asking if he was identified as Alfred E. Newman in those first appearances.
There was a funny thing too. They made a parody of Prince Charles, and they got in big trouble over that one too.
Oh,
They
wow.
actually even got a letter sent to them that had the Buckingham Palace stationery on the top, and it had a nasty note from what was purportedly Prince Charles himself saying, you know, I don't bloody well look like him, and shove off. And
Was that who he was based off of? Alfred E. Newman? And was he based off one of their friends, or was it just something they came up with?
they just stole it. They found an old ad from the turn of the century for a painless dentist that had that goofy kid's face on it, missing the tooth, and they just took it. And there was no copyright on it. A few people tried to sue them over the years and claim ownership of it, but those cases got thrown out. There was some widow saying her husband was the one that had created that character, and she couldn't prove it, so they went all the way to the Supreme Court, and then they just kicked it out, and it became theirs. So now it
and
belongs to them.
that's a whole nother. Now that original, I think it was Dental Cream or something like that.
Painless
That's a
dentist.
whole nother collectible like that. If that's another holy grail, it has nothing to do with quack medicine. It has all to do with MAD.
Yeah.
Is to find that original, one of those original examples of that artwork.
Yeah, Bill Gaines did a lot of research on it, and he couldn't find anything other than that. I think the dentist office was in Topeka or something like that.
Yeah, it was like a small in the middle of nowhere when they were all making their own stuff.
Yeah.
So in the world of snake oil collecting, that is one of those no one's been able to find yet, and there's people looking
Absolutely.
looking
Now,
for it.
Steve, Joe was asking if they actually identified him as Alfred E. Newman in those books, or if the name came later.
The name came later. They created that name, and then they purposely spelt it wrong, Neuman instead of
Right.
New. So they did it on purpose. They come up with that name. The "What Me Worry" slogan was apparently already there somewhere down the line where somebody else had stolen it. So they just took that too.
Hey, would we have the comics we have today if everybody wasn't stealing from each other?
Yeah,
It's called
plagiarism.
swiping. It's swiping, Gary. It's more
It's swi-
polite.
that's
than
right.
stealing.
It's
It's
swiping.
called swiping.
The $5 vocabulary word is homage.
Yeah, because Mark and I are both teachers, so we do that all the time. We borrow and
Ooh.
use things when we need to
Yes, we do.
Repurpose.
repurpose.
There you go.
Reimagine.
That's
I think
fantastic.
we're on 5 or 6. I've lost track of the MAD.
Oh, but when we're on 4, so this is number 5 coming up.
All right, I'll trust your guidance, Steve.
Yep. Oh, I numbered them. I put them in front of me here, so I know. This one you've seen before.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
If Doug Bratton is in the group, he'll know this one too, because this is his first appearance. It's the first appearance of the Doug.
You
So
got to get that one signed.
Yeah, you know what? When I see him, I'm definitely going to do that. It's not a great grade of a copy, but you know what? I had to dig through the collection to find this one because I stopped collecting around 350. So I had to hunt around. I had sporadic ones all the way up to whatever this one, 400 and something. Yeah, 463. So yeah, I had to do
Tina
some
thinks
digging,
it's
but it
very
was there.
cool.
Yep.
And now they've renumbered them back in 2018, so they went back to 1 again. And now it's just all reprints. There's no original material. And funny thing is, after DC suing them all those years ago, now they own it.
It took them a while, but they got their revenge.
Yeah, ironic, eh?
Right?
All right, so we're halfway through now. Well, kind
Yes, sir.
Ready for
Doing
the next
well.
one? Yeah.
Oh, they're a little George Perez.
Good.
Oh, I love George Perez art. It is just one of my absolute favorites. When I saw this book on the newsstand back when I was a kid, what's this, 87? I bought this thing the way you see it right off the newsstand.
And still a really affordable book.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, it is because, I met Wayne Squirrel Madness at one of these local cons in Oshawa for the first time. And we were walking around. We saw this one little dealer sitting in the corner there, and we saw these yellow labels on the top of his boxes. So we started popping them up, and they were all George Perez signed stuff. You had Infinite Crisis. There was this one, just a whole whack of them, and we were just completely geeking out. We both had to step away from his booth for a second to collect ourselves, and then come up with a strategy. And I said, well, he was telling me, he wanted the Infinite Crisis #7, the Flash one. I think there was the Supergirl one as well, the Death of Supergirl, the Death of Flash.
Did they have the Maestro one too?
I can't remember, but he ended up spending quite a bit. He wasn't expecting to see something like this, and this was the one that I wanted, because I was going to send my copy into the George Perez signing. It was, I think, in January, and then he got too sick, and then they canceled it. And I was actually kind of glad I didn't send it in, because it would have been just, going through the mail, and I wouldn't have got it back without being signed. And then the next best thing happened. I show up, and this guy's got a signed copy of it. It's a direct edition, but hey, I got my newsstand. I'm good. So I got one of each. That's a big thing in my collection too. I like to have one of the newsstand and also the direct editions.
It's funny you say that, because I do that too. Whenever I can get both, I get both.
Yeah.
I have, like, my Conan collection. There's a lot of newsstand and then direct edition. And then they have some with the Mark Jewelers, and then some that have the Whitman variants. Yep. So there's some copies, all 4 different copies. They're all the same book, but with little different variations to them.
And sometimes you get the price variants too, right? Some of them they were messing around with the prices on them. So that happens. All right. #7.
Yeah, you can always find a new rabbit hole. It's not really hard to find one, right, Rob?
Yeah, host a show.
Host the show. Yeah.
Good idea. Come up with content all the time. It's got to be your biggest hurdle.
Get exposed to, have people come on and show you things that you didn't know that you needed to buy.
Yes, to add to your addiction.
Yeah, one of those is on my panel right now. He's cost me a couple bucks. He knows who the guilty culprit is.
Uh-huh. That's why my local LCS is called Comic Book Addiction. It's it's all in the name.
I love spending your money.
Once a year they give you a sample for free, don't they? Just to make sure you stay hooked.
Absolutely.
Now, before Steve claims that he's innocent, I will point out that he's been the voice in the chat for me. When I've showed off Matt said, you need to get more.
Yeah.
You need to get more. So it's like a subliminal message there.
Yes, must have more. Must purchase more.
And when he and Wayne were at that dealer's with all those signed books, they were posting pictures going, look. There were those of us that couldn't be with them that day. Look what we got. It was just mean.
And we didn't expect to find anything. Wayne went in there and goes, yeah, I'm not going to find nothing in here. And all the big dealers in there, we really didn't find. There was some EC stuff there that I was looking at. But then just this one little dude, and it was just because his wife told him he had to sell his stuff. And then he just got a booth at the last minute, and he just brought a couple of boxes of slabs, and we're standing there just losing our minds over all this DC goodness.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's how it happens.
Yes, very quickly.
And Joe's talking about how the ones he has graded, he bought off the rack.
Yep.
And he got a 9.4 and a 9.6. Very good grades.
Oof. Big time.
Because Joe's always embarrassing us. We're like, I paid 2 cents for this, and now it's worth $1 bazillion.
The books that his mommy let him keep.
Yep.
But it would be sad, though, to know all the books that his mom didn't let him keep.
Right. Well, yeah, she threw out the Amazing Fantasy 15. She threw out the Giant Size X-Men. No number ones for Joe. No.
The horror.
Right.
So back in the 70s, too, my brother was a big Trekkie. And there was something in my brain that said, if he's a Trekkie, that means I can't enjoy the same thing that he likes. So I had to find my own sci-fi show. And in the late 70s, there was this really cool show that came out that I was a big fan of.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. And of course, that's the weird newsstand, or not the direct edition, when they were doing this weird thing with the bottom here where it had nothing in the corner, and then they had the little diamond there. So, of course, I have to go and get the slab of it and a newsstand and a near mint, because, that's part of the addiction, right? So I love this show.
And they had the best toys for that show too, like the little Cylon ships.
Yeah.
They
They
did.
shot, they
Oh,
shot
yeah.
torpedoes and stuff.
There,
Yep.
I had that action figure, that one right there that Mark's showing. I had one. That could be mine. Yeah, it looks like mine.
Yeah,
I
the
had the
Cylons were
Viper.
great. Like, didn't they just capture your imagination when you were young? The shiny robot-looking dude. You're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember having the
So-
Viper and the Cylon Raider and having it shoot the torpedoes with the spring-loaded torpedoes until Mom and Dad said, "Oh nope, take those away." Oh,
Yep.
You're gonna lose
And
an
those
eye.
were the coolest thing in sci-fi until Aaron Gray came along and Buck Rogers.
Yeah.
But Battlestar Galactica had Jane Seymour in it.
Yeah, Jane Seymour.
Oh,
Come on, Gary.
Oh, no, Jane
That's not
Seymour is
fair.
beautiful too.
Hey, I got 2 words. Katie Sackhoff. Come
Well,
on.
yeah, later on.
Later on the reboot. That was really awesome, the reboot. But yeah, this is the OG of it all, right?
Yep.
Yeah, great toys, great show. Space
Lauren Green,
1999 was another
couldn't
one.
believe that they got Lauren Green.
Yeah, I know.
Lauren
Remember
Green,
the-
the voice of doom from CBC News, another good Canadian lad.
Remember how cheesy the command deck looked? They had like those lazy boy, big brown overstuffed chairs that they were all
Yeah.
sitting in.
Oh yeah.
Ultra
When
cheesy.
you go into combat, I like to go into combat in comfort.
Exactly.
And near the end of the series, they get John Steed from the Avengers to play the Devil,
Yep.
which was just fantastic. So
Yeah.
You know, I gotta watch that original series again. I think it's on Tubi.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
I
all
got
over the place. It
DVDs of
doesn't, it doesn't stand up on rewatch as much as you might think it does.
it. Yeah, it doesn't
No,
really.
I didn't. I don't think it would, but
Yeah, don't expect to be blown out of your chair. Just
Yeah.
sit back and enjoy it. And
Yeah.
and
The
still a
big
good
brown
affordable comic book series to collect.
Oh,
Yeah.
the first issue is by far the most expensive, and the first issue in a 9.4 is less than $100. So
Oh yeah.
it's probably less than $50.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I think I traded this up because I had a 9.2 or something, and I just traded it for a 9.4.
Yeah, I think a
With maybe a
9.4 is like
couple of
around.
bucks.
I think around a 9.4 is around $50. I mean, it's really, really, really inexpensive.
yeah.
Yeah, until you're up here in Canada and it's like $2,000. No.
So Steve,
Where
Paul
were
wants to
you
know if
buying?
you like the reboot.
Sorry.
Steve wanted to know if you liked the reboot.
Oh yeah, I really enjoyed that reboot because then they finished the series. There was an actual conclusion to it
Yeah,
because
and you know
the
they're
first
rebooting
series
it
got
again,
canceled. Sorry.
They're rebooting it again too.
Yeah, I heard
Really?
about that.
Yep,
That'll be cool. Hopefully, they'll
but now
do it
it's
even
delayed
better.
with all the writer strikes and stuff.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, isn't it? But the original series got canceled after 1 season, so that was the end of that. And they kind of left you on a cliffhanger. Because I remember that last episode, they were in some kind of tall spire on the Galactica where it was a radio antenna, and they were messing around trying to find signals and stuff. And then they all left the room, and then it was the Apollo, the moon landing, had come through real grainy on the screen, and then that was the end of the series right there.
Wow.
Well, no, until Battlestar Galactica 1985, which just made you want to shoot your TV.
I never watched 85, Mark.
Oh, don't.
So
It's bad, huh?
It's
No,
bad.
yes.
like- Okay, we should wrap this up. I don't know. Can we get people together? It's bad.
Wow. But I mean, back then too, I love the ship design. Just the Galactica was a great looking ship.
oh yeah, that was so cool.
Yep.
Just a big
Awesome,
slab of a
awesome
ship.
model.
And I loved in the old sci-fi shows when they couldn't make it look sci-fi in costume. They just did weird things with people's hair.
Yeah,
They just give them a really strange haircut or a wig.
yeah,
Or
just
makeup.
make it
Or
futuristic. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, so some talking about weird hair.
Oh yes.
Wow, Grendel's been showing up a lot on my channel lately.
I know. I saw it on the last few there, and I don't think anybody was giving any love to this series. Everybody was doing the OG, like what was it, Primer?
That's a
number
beautiful cover.
2. This was the one that I loved my Comico back in the day. You know, the Robotech series and this
Yeah.
one, Elementals. You know, this was my jam as a teenager. I enjoyed these books.
The art-
Who was the
and this
Grendel
story
in
was
this in
good.
this series, Steve?
This is Christine. What was her name? Christine Spar.
Yep.
That's the name of the Grendel in this one. See, I cheated because I went to it's a key collector app, and then I print the stuff out, throw it in the back because I can't remember all this stuff. And I can make it look like I know what I'm talking about, and I'm just reading. Off.
Right? I never thought of doing that, printing that out and putting them on the back of books. That's a genius idea.
Yeah, I do that with all my ones with first appearances because the G.I. Joe ones are just ridiculous, the amount of first appearances in those books. So if you don't write them on the back, you'll never know what the hell it is. It's crazy.
That's why I'm going to my app. Yeah, I'll have to look it up. But
Exactly.
I have gotten to at least start marking like the books when I put them in there. Anything that's an incentive variant or something where I'm labeling the backer board or something. So that way, just when I'm flipping through the variants or something, I go, oh, that's the incentive one. That's the
Yeah. But these were the days where there were only one cover. That's all you get.
Yeah.
One cover.
Yeah, and you'll like it.
Yeah, that's right. And you don't like it, too bad.
I kind of wish you'd go back to that.
Yeah.
Even though I only bought like maybe 8 or 9 Conan covers or 8 or 9 Fire and Ice covers this week.
Oh yeah, with the new
and that's without one showing up that I ordered. So I'm wondering where that one is.
Yeah, because Conan's rebooting this week, isn't it? Tomorrow.
Oh yeah, I got him in the other room.
Excellent. You got them all ready? We got to wait till Wednesday.
I may know a person.
Oh, you got a guy.
I got a guy.
I know a guy. Now we're into my guilty pleasure. I love these.
Oh,
things.
nice.
Ooh, nice.
Bronze Age horror books. This was my go-to book back in the day. And I got to give another shout out to the OG Tina. She hooked me up because she found out I was into this stuff, and she got me this one here, which is one of the price variants that I was talking about. This one's the 15-cent price variant.
Oh wow!
Because you can get these, like you were saying, Gary. You can get Gold Key. You can get the Whitman variants, and then there was also these price variants. Like some of them were 20 cents, and the original price was 15 cents. And then, of course, they were jacking the price up to 20 cents, so it's 20-cent variant. So you can buy the Whitman, the Gold Key, and then the 2 different price variants.
Where does Tina find this stuff?
She has sources. I don't know what they are, but she has sources.
She's got a guy too.
Right.
She's got a guy.
So I got an okay from Tina 2 weeks ago, and it was a double cover Conan book.
Yeah, and it took you a while to figure it out. That was hilarious watching that video. Like he's trying to figure out.
I completely failed in that video. I'm like, should I reshoot it? I'm like, no, it's funny. Just people can watch me fail.
No, it was great. It was absolutely great because
the look on your face. The look on your face, Gary, when you realized it was a double cover, it was worth watching again and again.
Absolutely, it was. It was worth watching the whole thing just to see your face at the end going, "Oh my God, that's not the cover."
Right. Right. Oh, I was looking too. I was like detecting and completely clueless. I was like,
so Tina, shout out to you. Thank you. This wasn't the only one she sent me, but this was the one cool variant. She sent me about 4 different books, and they were all ones that I didn't have. So it was beautiful because it's tougher to find these ones, even in high grade too. It's really tough because, Bronze Age horror, this stuff was just beat to death,
Yep.
And there's still a bunch of these that I still need too, because there's 60 something of them, 52. I can't remember how many there were.
There's a lot.
There's a lot. And then, of course, like I said, there was the Whitman variants. Towards the end, it switched from Gold Key to Whitman for, I think, the last 3 or 4 issues. So, I mean, they're not valuable books. You can find these things like $10 and cheaper. So
yeah,
it makes it more fun to collect sometimes, is that you can afford them.
Exactly. And the covers are just fantastic. Some of these painted covers are just incredible, right?
Yeah.
It's just like with Twilight Zone, Ripley's Believe It or Not, all those painted covers from the 70s are really cool stuff. And they're not expensive. Yeah, the Karloff books, those are great.
Yeah, I was doing that with a whole bunch of the Dell sci-fi stuff that was going on, the Spaceman and the Tom Corbett's and stuff. They have the same thing, those beautiful painted covers that you're just like, they're not expensive books, but they're beautiful.
And the stories aren't particularly great, but they're not terrible either. They're predictable.
Some of them are pretty bad, but some of them
yeah. But we like the covers.
And once you start down that rabbit hole of painted Dell covers, it's really hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to get out. It's not good.
Well, there's not that many of them, Chuck. Like what?
I know, right?
That's like trying to collect all the treasure classics. I mean the illustrated classics. When they have you have 2 covers for all of those. And
there's multiple numbers, multiple. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, like Tina says, it's not hard. You can search online now. This modern technology is just incredible. You can pretty much find anything now. it's so much easier, because trying to dig up these mad books over the years, just going crawling to comic book stores, it was so hard to find. But then the invention of computers and internet and technology, that's the only thing that really made it possible for me to get my hands on these books, like readily available, instead of
Right.
hunting all over the planet for them.
Now,
Yeah.
my LCS, they have boxes of magazines that they sell, right? But a lot of LCSs won't even stock the old magazines. They won't even buy them from people. It's like
Yep.
these things are incredible.
Absolutely.
I know, and I know some people always want color with their stories, but that old magazine format with the black and white storytelling it's just so unbeatable to me.
Oh, absolutely. We're on to book 10. Uh-oh.
Yes, sir.
Book 10. This one I got to do for you, Gary. Just because.
Nice. One of the best covers in comic history.
Oh, yeah, but it gets better.
Ooh.
On the first page, signed, Barry
Windsor Smith.
Smith.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah, this one I was going to send off to CBCS, and then the COVID thing happened, and then our store up here that you could send your book into, they closed the distribution center down. So I wasn't able to send this one in. So that's on my list to get into CBCS and get the signature verified.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And
not a
that'll
high
look
grade
great
book.
in that case.
This will hit maybe, I don't know, 4.3540, but that signature, that's what gets
I
it.
was gonna say though, with the signature, does it matter?
Yeah.
It's
like
not
I
like
said,
you can find his signature a lot.
That's a really rare signature.
Yeah. And like I was saying on Matt Wood's show, the reason why I picked this one up early is because it's my birthday book. So same year, same month, October 1970. So that's, and I do have other
the same
books.
age. I'm July 1970.
Oh, there you go. Wow.
Pops.
Oh, so that's the 10. How's
That's
that?
the 10. Now we have the 11th with a story. And Joe's saying he loves birthday books.
Yeah, birthday books are cool. So when I saw the date on that one, I said, okay, I got to have that book. And then just a bonus.
It's funny too because that title almost died within the first 7 issues, and then then the next issue took off, and Roy was able to convince Stan to keep it, and it became 275 issues, 12 annuals, 5 giant size, 5 treasury editions, and so much more.
Yeah, and it keeps going. Like now they're going to reboot it again, so it just keeps going and going. Okay. So my book with a story.
Joe? Ooh.
First book that I ever purchased with my own money.
Oh, nice.
I was just a kid of 11. I had my little paper route. I was making the big $15 a month. And my parents used to drag our butts all over the frickin' planet camping everywhere. I think we were somewhere east of here in Colburn, this little town. And I saw this thing on a spinner rack, and what 11-year-old kid doesn't want to see a giant robot with lasers and blast cannons shooting stuff everywhere? Like I just grabbed this one and said, "Oh yeah, I got to get that book."
Right, and on that cover, he kind of looks like Garza from Micronauts.
Yeah, this was the big Cobra robot that went into. They had it dismantled and they brought it into the pit, and it reassembled itself and then started causing havoc. And they were trying to find out the location of the pit. So this robot was trying to make its way to the surface so it could send out a transmission and let the Cobra forces know where the pit was so they could destroy it. Great book. So I had to go and get it in a newsstand, 9.8.
Nice.
It's not a valuable book. It's not a key, but it's key to me because it was my first purchase that I did myself.
I was going to say that's issue 3.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there looking at this is a series where like almost every issue has a litany of first appearances. Yet issue 3 there's nothing.
No, this is like one of the few inert books that had absolutely nothing going on in it. But again, that's probably why I got the slab so cheap, right? It's because it's really a nothing book. So,
and that's okay. Like some of my favorite reads are 50-cent books.
Yeah, and it's a great one for me because I absolutely love this series. Larry Hama, man, he had no idea what he was doing from issue to issue. every freaking issue, he just kind of winged it every single time, and he came up with winners. And he was just an editor at the time. He was dying to write. The only reason that he ended up with this book is because Jim Shooter had Hasbro come in and they wanted to do a book to go with their toy line. And every one of the writers in there knew they weren't going to make any money because the toy company's going to take the lion's share of the profits. So he went around to everybody asking if they wanted to do the book. And they said, nope, 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 nope. And then he goes around to all the editors. The last office he went to was Larry Hama. He goes, you want to do this? And he goes, yep. And there he goes. He took off and Larry Hama was doing the book.
And it was funny with those toy lines too, because famously none of the artists wanted to do the toy lines or none of the writers wanted to write them.
Yeah.
But you had people like Larry Hama and Bill Mantlo, that became their bread and butter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like Bill Mantlo took that ROM series, wrote the whole thing, and so many Micronauts and guys like Larry Hama, they those are the books that made them famous, that made them a household name.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the ROM series outlasted the toy. The toy was a failure.
Oh, yeah. And the ROM series is a fantastic read.
Yep. It's a good read.
I've never read the ROM books. I've always seen them all the time, never picked one up. Now I may do
It is a great space Earth odyssey.
Yep.
Thanks for the new edition.
It's not expensive, Steve.
No.
Oh, good. That's what I like to hear.
Yeah.
It is getting harder to find though, because now people are picking it up now that they announced there'll be a trade out. Because you could never get it in trade before with these licenses.
Yeah.
So it was always unique just to have the books themselves. But the only part that was weak about that series was like the last, like what was it, like 15 or 20 issues that was drawn by Steve Ditko, and the art was horrible by him in that series, but the writing was still great.
The writing was good. It's almost like he was phoning in the art. Like it was, I don't know what the deal was, because it wasn't something he would normally have done. And
right, because you see Steve Ditko, you get excited, and then you looked inside, and every one of those books that he drew was just, you were just like, oh, well, at least the story's good.
It felt like a lot of the late Carmen Infantino stuff that he did at the end of the first run of Flash, and where it just felt like, somebody said, hey, Carmine, I know you need work. Here you go. And
yeah,
and he did it, and it just, But like you said, it felt like you're phoning it in. So
one last cool little fact about G.I. Joe. Do you guys know that Stephen King wrote something for that book?
No.
So Larry Hama, Stephen King, actually, his son was a big fan of the G.I. Joe series, and he wanted his son wanted to be one of the G.I. Joes. So Larry Hama made him a deal and says, okay, I'll make your son a Joe. You just got to write some of the profiles for some of the characters. So Stephen King wrote a few of the dossiers, as he called them, for a few of the characters.
Oh, for the G.I. Joe Classified series?
Yeah. So you'd see at the end of the book, there'd be a little dossier on each character, where their hometown is and all this stuff. So then you see this one character that his hometown is Maine, and his last name is his name is Owen King, which is Stephen King's son.
That's cool.
So that was kind of cool.
Now, was that he didn't get credit for it in the book that he did those?
No, that's the thing. You just saw all of a sudden Stephen King's son is one of them, and if you read the couple of dossiers, they kind of got that Stephen King vibe to them.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
that's another rabbit hole, Rob. You could go down the Stephen King comic rabbit hole.
No, that's right.
That's okay. That's okay.
That's I already have like Batman 500, which I think he did something on, as I recall.
Yeah, I think he had his hands into some comics, didn't he?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Now his kid Joe Hill has a bunch. He did that whole DC line. I think I got the Plunge series because it was underwater horror, which I love.
Oh, underwater horror.
So yeah, I'm a sucker for water creatures and underwater horror.
Wait, I'm sorry. What did you say?
Underwater.
Underwater.
HORROR, I think he said.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, okay.
I'm not sure where he was going with that either, but I think that's what he said.
Yeah, underwater.
That's a different Little Mermaid than I watched.
We have a closed caption option here. We might need that.
He's got the wrong videos going.
Yeah, those Stephen King comics are fantastic. I got 7 more, and I'll have all 19 series of that books, the books that he brought out with the Dark Tower series.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's a really good read. It fills in the gaps. So if you've ever read the Dark Tower series books, the comic books kind of fill in all the little gaps in between, which is really neat, and some of the backstories.
Oh, that's a cool supplemental thing.
Yeah. Another
All right.
edition, because there's a lot of books. I mean, 19 series, and most of them had 5 or 6 issues in each one.
You got Matt Woods and Joe who, excuse me, Matt Woods and Joe who have read the books.
Yeah. Yeah, really good books. I'm actually on number 7 again for the umpteenth millionth time. They're great books.
See, I was always a Clive Barker guy.
Yeah, Clive Barker, and he's got comic books too. They had the Nightbreed books out. They were great. Yeah, I've got most of those too. I'm just missing a few to complete that run too. Just great.
Right now, we are to your spec pick, sir.
This book's coming back.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
Again, my ECs. I love my EC goodness. This was one of the big ones when I was a kid. That series right here. This is the one that I really loved. It's one of the first ones that I ever picked up in the Comico series was the Next Generation.
That's a good cover.
Oh yeah, really cool cover. Fantastic books. I just love this. It was like the Japanese animation, the manga. And this is rebooting again. I think it's coming out this month. It's either this month or next month. They're going to reboot the Robotech series. So,
which company?
Good question.
is it like animated? Or?
No, it's a comic book is coming back.
Oh, really?
It was in previews. So when I saw it in previews, I'm like, oh yes, my beloved Robotech is coming back, because a lot of companies have run this book over the years and just ran a few issues of it, and it wasn't really that great. A lot of times they were just stealing from the original series.
Titan Comics.
Oh, is Titan doing that too?
Okay.
Man,
Yeah,
Titan's
looks like-
coming on up.
There we go. See, Rob's all over it.
I was just Googling it too. Good. Maybe I can write them and they'll do Bubblegum Crisis for me. I love that anime. It's one of my favorites of all time.
Oh yeah, it's such a cool story. Nice series too. I really enjoyed this. And then the cartoon came out, and it wasn't too bad too. It followed the comic book pretty accurately. So yeah, it was a good show. I enjoyed this a lot as a kid, and I still have them and still enjoy them. So I'll still read through these.
Right? Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. You gotta love what you read, right?
Absolutely.
Mm,
And that's it. There's my 10 and 1 and 1.
Right? No, those are great books. So, obviously there's one of those covers I've seen because I have it here, but most of those books were new covers to me, which was awesome.
Cool.
I saw, obviously I've seen the Conan, seen the Battlestar Galactica a bunch, but all those early Mads I had never seen. And the Robotech I've seen here and there, but you don't see it often anymore.
No. And then trying to find those in high grade too. They're actually a little pricey book too.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, when they came out, they were more expensive than the other books, and
Yeah.
you had to decide whether you were going to buy that or you were going to buy your Marvel or DC.
Yeah, they were two and a quarter Canadian.
Mm-hmm.
US they were $1.50, and yeah, my Next Generation, the New Generation, it was $2 for that book. Yeah, that was pricey back then because they were
Back
most
then.
of the books you got $1, or
Yep.
$1.25.
Yep.
So yeah,
And I love all those publishers that aren't the big two, because I love the Atlas Seaboard books. I love a lot of the Comico, but I love all those companies that they only occupied a certain period in comic history. There's just something neat about them.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to say, when you asked me to come on the show and pick out the books, it was like super easy. I sat as soon as you said I can come on the show, I grabbed my pad and boom, I didn't even hesitate. I just fired these books off like nothing.
Nice.
No hesitation. Boom.
A lot of people tell me that they hate me because they had to struggle with it, so that's good to hear that.
Yeah.
I had to struggle trying to decide on what books. That's okay. Talk about this at the end of at Toronto. Yeah, I think you're.
That's all right. I'll put you guys
When you
off to
come
it again
down.
when we make second appearances.
Yeah, this is the first time that Mark and I have been on a channel together at the same time.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yep.
We've been on separately, but never together. The two
Never
crazy
together.
knucklehead Canadians.
Yep. And I was in Toronto last year at Fan Expo. I'm sitting there looking, trying to decide whether I was going to pull a trigger on this book. I think no, wasn't even a book. It was Space 1999 cards, and whether I was going to pull the trigger on it. And I heard off to my, to my right, I think it was, "You must be Mr. Andrews," and I went, "Uh-oh, is this gonna be good? Is this good or is this going to be bad?"
And there was this wonderful bald head right next to you.
Yep.
That's cool. You guys got to meet. So was that your first meeting, huh?
Yeah.
Nice.
I thought that was pretty cool. And Mark had come down. You come down to the show on a regular, and that was the first one I've been to in ages and ages.
Yeah. And Wayne met us, and we wandered around, and Wayne's in the lead, and Steve was in the middle, and I was in the back. So he was always safe. The crowd just parted because Wayne's like bigger than I am.
Wayne is a big man.
Yeah, he is tall. I was blown away. I couldn't believe how tall these two. I just felt first time I had to look up at people. It was crazy. Now I know how my wife feels when she's looking up at me.
Do I know Wayne or no?
Squirrel Madness Comics. You might have seen his show. He had a channel briefly for a while there.
Oh, okay.
He was on Reggie Collects a few times, I think.
Yeah, and he was on Joe's show on
The
the comic book crowd.
Yep.
He stepped away a bit, but he's still, every once in a while he'll pop back in, but he's got some amazing books.
Yes, he does.
20,000 plus. Yeah, he's got a big collection.
Yeah,
He's a great guy.
Yeah,
Great guy.
super
Came
guy.
over to my house one day and he showed me his cracked #1 signed by John Severin. And I was
Wow.
Oh my God.
Ooh.
That would just be a beautiful addition to Mad #1 signed. And you got that one next there. I just said, just saying.
Yeah,
Just good stuff.
Just putting it out there in the ether, right?
Just saying. That would be cool.
Oh goodness. Well, that was a great selection of books. That was a lot of fun. So thank you so much, Steve, for coming on and showing them.
It was a close thing, but we figured it out.
He says Wayne was an original in the comic book crowd. Tina saying Wayne is awesome. So we are going to go around the horn here, see what everyone's got coming up. I'm going to guess it's mostly going to be Rob and I.
Yep.
Rob, what's coming up for you, sir?
Thursday, I'll do Jack B. $230 comic book mystery box, which was benefiting Feed the Children charity.
And man, those have been hot.
Yeah, it doesn't. Gary, you're gonna like this one, but you can't have any of it. It's a great box.
Yes.
Well, spoilers. It's not garbage. It's great. So Jack B. $230 comic book mystery box on Thursday. Saturday, only slabs. I got Hydra Collectibles from the UK joining us for this week's guest, and then on Monday I'm back to opening up my normal mail call. More bangers, as we've been doing every Monday for the last several weeks here. We've been opening up bangers, and another one on Monday.
Nice. Chuck, you have anything coming up?
I've got two shows that currently need a little bit of editing. They're both movie reviews, actually. One on Barbie, which my daughter treated me to, and because that's what daughters do. And the other one is on the documentary on Dave Stevens, which is out on Amazon Prime right now. So
nice. I just bought a Dave Stevens cover the other night. The Crime Stories one.
Oh, nice.
Very good. Very good.
Got it for $17.
Wow.
That's even better. Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
And Mark, anything coming up for you?
I'm going to be with this guy like Thursday.
One for punishment, he is.
Well, yeah. And I had, I just make Gary spend money and then bully him into letting me on his shows. It worked.
He's got a lot of sad sack stories, and once you feel bad enough, you just let him in the door.
Come on. I don't have my own channel.
But yeah, so speaking of that, we have Milt returning again this Thursday for In the Hot Seat with the Usual Suspects. So we'll be interviewing Milt, getting a little bit of his comic history, and he wants to show some more books, and we, of course, are going to accommodate. and have some fun and get some great stories out of Milt along the way. A guy that's got a fantastic collection.
Oh, yeah.
Saturday what is this? Oh no, Friday I also have an extra show Friday night where I got the boys from Australia on, Keep on Collecting, Matthew and Andrew, who are great gentlemen, and they're the ones who got me hooked on Vegemite. And also Scott Crusher. Now these guys are toy collectors and they're coming on, they're showing their top 3 toy buys of the year, each of them, and they're just going to discuss. And if you guys have never watched their channels, man, there's a tour that Scott Crusher does with Matthew and Andrew through Andrew's house, his toy thing. It is like a museum of 80s classic toys, and they get toys that you didn't even know existed. You wish you knew about them when you were a kid. So we got them coming up Friday night. This is going to be my second show with Keep on Collecting Boys. We're adding Scott Crusher in, who's a great guy. And then after that show, I got to go to bed because I have to get up early in the morning. I got to wake up my co-host. And we have Coffee and Cosplay Saturday morning. The cosplay this Saturday by Stephanie is going to be Wonder Woman. And so we'll be doing that. We'll have the contest starts anew for a portrait, to win a portrait from her. This month, the winner was Evil's Comics. So he is going to get sketched by Steph. And so if you guys have ever tuned in, we have a fun show. And
There's a lot of
fun. See her in cosplay and talk about the character. And then you'll get a shirtless shout out at the end, which is Mark Andrews' favorite segment.
The only time I just go, nope, black. Because I don't know if you saw it in the chat, Gary, but Matt Wood's kids got questions now after last.
I did, yeah. Because I was like, I'm gonna really get Matt for not having stickers. So I put the blue tape all over my chest with Matt Woods, everybody, and then I had some pasties that Phil sent me, and I wrote Matt Woods on them, had those on. I'm like, I may as well go full asshole on this and just have fun with it.
Attaboy. Just give her.
Right?
Dope. My man, dope.
Yeah, what the best pre-horror collection out there with Dope.
Oh my God, his collection is incredible.
And he's got 1 or 2 good Spidey books too. Just 1 or 2 though. He's got great stuff. I just reached out to him to come on for a second time, so we'll be seeing Dope on the channel again as well.
Show off those Hulk books.
Oh, he's got great stuff, and just a fun guy to talk to. But Steve, anything coming up for you, sir?
Not a damn thing. Except be in the crowd and watch your shows and see what Rob's expression when he sees the Milt's next set of books.
That was
worth
Rob.
I was feeling for you, brother.
Oh, that was worth
Rick. And if you guys have never watched Random Rick, he has a channel that's fun. It's just, you never know what he's going to review on there, talk about all sorts of different things, and a fun channel. I like his channel a lot. But guys, that's it for this week. I want to thank all my co-hosts. Thank you guys. Having you guys here and having a voice and helping me out means a lot. I appreciate you all. Steve, thank you, because without the guests, there's no show. I appreciate you coming on and reaching out to me. It's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you and talk to you. And, of course, our incredible guests that were in the chat, everyone that's coming out and to support everyone that's that's my co-host and the guests. Thank you guys so much. Any of you that are watching on the rewind, thank you. Sub Rob up, his links in the chat. Sub these other 3 guys up. I have their links to Instagram. And I got to add yours, Mark, because you were last minute bullying in. And
he was there to keep me in line. That's why he's here.
Right. I know. I was getting Mark. Gary, are you overlooking something? I would like to be on the show. Don't overlook me, Gary. He was like Death in Bill and Ted's Adventure 2. Don't overlook my part.
No, I said I got to keep, I will see Steve. See, so I actually could have, keep him under control.
And I was like, Mark, the more the merrier. Come on in. I love having people on the show. But
We gave you
anyway,
that first appearance together, though. So you finally, Gary, you were able to prove that Mark and Steve weren't the same person.
right. There you go. You saw it here first.
It's a wig.
Right?
Because I
One of them
know
has
that
hair, one of them
people
doesn't.
have been mistaking that, thinking that for years.
Yeah.
They couldn't. They're the same person. Come on.
All
Right,
those
yeah,
channels
just,
are the same.
When Mark wants to be Steve, he takes the wig off. When he wants to be him, he puts it back on,
Yep.
takes on the beard and mustache. All right, guys, thank you all so much. And as we like to end these things, keep it casual. And I had the wrong part. There we go. Keep it